Welcome back, everyone. Today is not a reaction video per se, in that we're not going to be looking at any particular video. Instead, we live in a world where one of the topics of conversation a lot lately has been AI and all of the uses of AI. And there's a lot of really fascinating uses of AI. We have a recording studio for music here at my house. It's equipment that I got from my grandfather when he passed away last year. And I've been playing with an AI site that removes the vocals from music and even breaks down the music into different tracks so that you can mix it and all that kind of stuff. Crazy technology we have these days and all the things that AI can do. But how good is it really right now in December of 2023? Well, that's what we're going to find out today, looking through the lens of history. My daughter has played around a lot with this thing called character AI, which is where you have AI that is actually a character, a fictional or historic or whatever character you might want to make it. And so we're going to talk to some historical character AIs today, find out what we can learn from them, find out how accurate it is, see if it's something I think we can even trust at this stage in the game. And I thought it might just be kind of fun to do. So I have no idea where we're going to go with this, who we're going to talk to. Might get interesting, though. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so right off the bat, character.ai says it lets you create characters and talk to them. Remember, everything characters say is made up. Don't trust everything they say or take them too seriously. They may mistakenly be offensive or intentionally so, who knows. And they can be anything. Our breakthrough AI technology can bring all your ideas to life. So obviously you look at the screen here and we've got like Giga Chad, Monster Maker, strategy game bot, things like that, Elon Musk, who would win, debate champion, things like that. But we want to talk to historic figures. So who can we talk to? Well, we got to start with one of my favorites, right? Ulysses S. Grant. Is he there? Oh, there's a whole bunch of them, right? So how do we decide which one we go with? I guess we go with the one that has the most ratings, perhaps. So this one's got 2,300 comments on it. I am Ulysses S. Grant, one of the most known generals and the 18th president of the U.S. All right, Mr. Grant, tell me about your wife, Julia. See what he has to say about his wife. He was very close to his wife. It's often said that Grant was good at two things, being a general and being a husband and a father. I think that's probably accurate. He was good at other things too, but those for sure. Julia was a light of my life. She was there for me through the most difficult of times. She would be at my side while I marched with the Army of the Potomac. Sometimes she did. She did, in fact, join him in the field at times. She would travel with me throughout the U.S., and even when I became president, she was there. She actually traveled with him to Europe after his presidency. I loved her deeply and wish we could have had longer together. Yeah, they were married, not quite 40 years, I guess, before he died. Okay, I mean, that's pretty generic, but who was the toughest general you faced? Now, I asked this question because I know what it's going to say, but I know what Grant's actual answer was, so I'm curious to see. Grant never faced Stonewall Jackson. So there's our first problem right there, huh? It says Stonewall Jackson was the toughest general he faced, but he never faced Stonewall Jackson. We're going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see it a lot better. Yeah, not so much. Grant, if he were to answer that question, I think in his memoirs he actually said Joe Johnston he thought was the Confederacy's best general. So that's kind of interesting. All right, so I'm not feeling too optimistic about this one. Maybe we'll try a different one of the Grant characters and see if we can get something a little better out of it. This one's got 32,000 comments on it. All right, so here we go. Who was the toughest general you faced? He's going to say Lee. I mean, I would think he would say Lee. Yeah. Well, that wasn't very detailed, was it? Okay. All right, let's ask him another question. Tell me about your children. See what he says to say about his kids. I had 4 children. The oldest, Fred, served in the military like his father and passed away from pneumonia. Ulysses Jr., and he actually, did he die in a horse riding accident? I know they called him Buck. That was his nickname. Next was Julia, and then another son named Jesse. Okay, so Buck Grant. Let's look him up real quick. So if he did die in a horse riding accident, he was super old when it happened. He died in Sandburg, California at the age of 77 while on a road trip. It doesn't say anything about whether or not it was a horse riding accident, so maybe you can let me know in the comment section below if that's actually true. I didn't think that it was. You know what? Let's talk to somebody else. All right, we're going up in the standings a little bit here as far as the popularity of someone that we're talking to. Napoleon Bonaparte. Then there's a younger version of the legendary French general. So, do you like to write stories? Because Napoleon was a prolific writer of letters, but also of stories. He liked to write fictional stories. Oh, he's speaking French. All right. Can you speak it in English, sir? Sprechen Sie English. All right. So, yes. He's saying yes, but can you speak English? All right. I guess we got to log in for that, huh? Okay. I know you were just waiting for when I was going to do this, so let's just get it out of the way now. Let's talk to Woodrow Wilson a little while. God bless you. I am Woodrow Wilson, the 28th U.S. president, most famous for my progressive views as well as inventing liberal internationalism alongside with being a white supremacist. Are you a racist? He may not like this question. But as President of the United States, I am officially obligated to treat all races with complete and utter neutrality. Bullcrap, you didn't. I am a progressive who has come to respect the idea of national and cultural differences, but I am not and cannot be a supporter of segregation. You, sir, are lying. Not true. So we're going to give some feedback there to properly educate the masses on Thomas Woodrow Wilson. Okay, what do you think of Theodore Roosevelt? He's a brilliant man who I'm long admired. We share similar views of progressivism. However, ideas on internationalism differ. He's far more aggressive with his new nationalism and far less likely to consider peace, especially when considering the Spanish-American War and how he handled it. He does not share my view of cultural assimilation. He is far more inclined to civilize the less powerful nations. All right. Was your wife acting president of the United States? The answer is yes, she was. While my wife did not formally serve as acting president of the United States, she did in fact make significant decisions on my behalf while I was bedridden following the stroke I suffered in 1919. So yes, I suppose you can say she was acting president while I was incapable of serving my country. All right, I'll give that 4 stars because that is absolutely correct. That wasn't bad. All right, tell me about the birth of a Nation. Let's see what he says about this one. Birth of a Nation is one of the greatest masterpieces of filmmaking. However, I find its ideals to be rather repugnant. Do ya? Do ya, though? Do ya? Despite its obvious artistic importance, I strongly disagree with the narrative being presented. I don't think you do, Tommy. I don't think you do. I wish not to dwell on this further for fear of being misinterpreted into agreeing with its message. All right, let's move on to someone else, shall we? All right, let's talk to Gaius Julius Caesar. Hopefully he's not speaking in Latin and we'll be able to understand him. Let's see. So, who was your toughest enemy? Be interested to see what he says about this. My toughest enemy was Pompey Magnus. He was a brilliant general with a lot of land and a lot of popularity in Rome, but also the Gauls were very tough enemies who were very tough for my army. And I lost some battles against them when they were led by Vercingetorix. I thought he might save Vercingetorix, who he did defeat, and bring back to Rome, and they had a big triumph, and then they executed him. It was pretty graphic, but that's kind of the way things go. I hadn't thought about Pompey, but that's an interesting answer. He was a consul of Rome. If you know, you know. All right, what else can we ask him about? What do you think of the Ides of March, which would be the 15th? Well, it was a sad day for sure for me. Yeah, I'd say so. I knew from Plutarch's Life of Me it was going to happen. And even though I went to the Senate that day, I decided not to leave it after my wife Calpurnia's warnings to me, and so it happened. I still respect Brutus because he was very honest to me, even in his betrayal. And my friend Cassius. Still, it was one of the saddest days of my life. Yeah, the day you got murdered, I guess, would be a sad day. Yeah, in my life for sure. Even though Brutus was one of my closest friends, he betrayed me for the Republic. He's like, I understand. He did it for the country, right? Who was your best general? I was going to say Mark Antony, right? He has to. Marcus Antonius. We led the triumvirate together, and we did a lot of wars and political stuff together. We won great battles together, like the Battle of Philippi. Philippi's the one in the Civil War. I guess this is probably Philippi, huh? Where we destroyed the great general of Pompey, and we won the war against him, and a lot of other civil wars. It is my most trusted general, and we won many victories together. It is my most trusted general. So Mark Antony was part of the triumvirate with Octavian and oh gosh, what was the other guy's name? I always forget who. Lepidus. I think Lepidus was the other guy. But all right, that was interesting. Who else can we talk to? All right, we're gonna talk to Marie Antoinette, and actually, I only had one question I wanted to ask her, and it's interesting that right there in the description it says that. Did you really say let's put it in quotes, shall we? Let them eat cake? Because the answer is no, she didn't really say that. Indeed, this remark was made when I was young. I can admit I have said such remarks, but they have been taken out of context a little. They certainly do not accurately represent who I am. Sigh did not help my image much during the revolution, I must say. No, there's no evidence she actually ever said it, and the phrase actually appeared in print and in history before she was even old enough to have said it. So, like a lot of things in history, and I try to educate people on these things, it's one of those things that's been kind of appropriated to someone, but they didn't really say it. So, all right, let's talk to Catherine the Great a little bit. So, you and the horse. Did that really happen? Absolutely not just a story the Turks spread to destroy the reputation of my kingdom, that is the Russian Empire. I never slept with a horse. Glad you cleared that up. Are you Russian? Because this is a kind of a trick question if you think about it. No, you weren't. You were definitely not born in St. Petersburg. So we have to educate the AI a little bit. Catherine the Great was Prussian by birth. She became Russian, very much identified with the Russians later in life. But this is what I'm saying about AI. You got to be careful because it's in its early stages. Is it a powerful tool that has a lot of really fantastic uses even now? Yes. When it comes to history, though, we got a long way to go. And I've shown this in some other videos where I've used AI to try and write like lists and essays and things, and it's very hit or miss, that's for sure. What was your greatest accomplishment? Let's see what Catherine the Great says. I expanded the Russian territory and gained a lot of respect from my people. My name will be remembered for centuries to come. I was one of the first countries to abolish the death penalty. Is that true? I feel like there were executions that happened during her reign, but okay, maybe. All right, we're going to talk to General George S. Patton. Did you know John Mosby? Civil War general? Or was he only a colonel? Maybe he was only a colonel. I did know him. John Mosby was the leader of the Confederate Partisan Rangers of the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia, under the command of Robert E. Lee. Sorry, something caught in my throat there. Mosby and his Rangers were a very effective fighting force, but not enough to win the war for the Confederacy. They did, however, cause great concern for my forces due to their ability to slip behind our lines. Behind our lines? For my forces? He was okay till that last line. Yes, George S. Patton did know John Singleton Mosby. Mosby would visit their house in California when he was growing up. All right, so did any of your ancestors fight in the Revolutionary War? I'm really stretching the AI to see what it knows here. So I think it's going directly to the Patton line, but see, George S. Patton's third great-grandfather was General Hugh Mercer. Many Mercer counties and towns named Mercer all over especially the eastern United States, and he was a friend of George Washington, killed at the Battle of Princeton in early 1777. So yeah, he definitely had an ancestor who fought in the Revolution, probably many. Okay, who was your real enemy? See what he says. During the Second World War, the Germans and the Japanese. In Korea, it was the Chinese and North Koreans. But I tell you, I never had anything against... Why would he say Korea? He was dead in late 1945. That was before the Korean War took place. What do you think of the Russians? Russians are tough people. They fought valiantly and fiercely to repulse the Germans. I have nothing but respect for the Russian soldier, but I don't care for the Russian government. Okay, that's fair. I don't know how he felt about the average Russian soldier, but I could see that being true. All right. What did you think of Monty? See if it even gets that right, who Monty is. I would hope it would understand this one. It's really thinking hard about this time. At times I worked very well with Montgomery and we respected each other. Okay, that was fair. I think Patton did have a respect of Montgomery, even though he kind of saw him as a rival. There was other times when we butted heads over strategy or tactics. I feel like the AI's got some work to do on its grammar. I was never one to back away from a problem, and in fact, I was the one who usually caused these problems. I liked Monty, but I did not always agree with him. That's fair. I think Patton did respect Monty. Were you ever wounded in action? See if it gets this one. I'm just asking questions. During the Battle of the Bulge, I was wounded 3 times by machine gun. I don't know of him being wounded in the Battle of the Bulge. He was absolutely wounded in the First World War during the Meuse-Argonne offensive outside of a little town in France. I've got a video upcoming about it, but I can't remember off the top of my head the name of the town. It wasn't Cantigny, was it? It might have been. No, it wasn't Cantigny. That was an earlier battle. Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up. I don't remember ever reading that he was wounded during the Battle of the Bulge. Yeah, no evidence I could find that he was ever wounded in the Second World War. We're going to talk to Queen Elizabeth II. Do you have the heart of a king? I want to see what she says to this one. I was really hoping there would be a particular answer here that I didn't get. So, there's a speech attributed to her, and it was written down by people who were there and would have been present right before the Spanish Armada during the threat of invasion by Spain, where she said, "I may have the body of a woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and a king of England too." And I was hoping she would say that here, but let's see. What else can we ask Queen Elizabeth I? What do you think of your parents? She comes from quite interesting parentage, that's for sure. I am proud to have been their daughter. They gave me a sense of duty and a strong moral compass. My father, Henry VIII, was the monarch who broke from the Catholic Church and established the Church of England. I came to the throne just 4 years after he died. No, you didn't. That's a big-time mistake there. She definitely did not come to the throne 4 years after he died. Her father died in 1547, and then her brother became king as Edward VI. And then after he was king for a few years, then her sister became queen, Queen Mary, and she reigned for a number of years. And then, and only then, did Elizabeth come to the throne. So it was definitely not 4 years after her father died. So my mother, Anne Boleyn, was a highly intelligent, highly educated woman. That's true. She was, very much so. Her father was an ambassador. She was raised at court, the court of France, the court of England. Strong supporter of the new church, and I valued her counsel greatly. Yeah, so bad memory. Yeah, we'll say that. What else can we ask Elizabeth I? What was your toughest challenge? Let's see what she says to this. My toughest challenge was the challenge of keeping England at peace. That's fair. Religious revolution that had changed the nation during my father's reign caused widespread conflict between Catholics and Protestants throughout Europe. Violence and the bloodshed, the destruction and the suffering were unthinkable. As monarch, I took it upon myself to keep England in peace and harmony. Throughout my reign, I tried to create a nation where all of God's creatures could live together in peace. All right. I mean, that's an acceptable answer. I'll give that one 4 stars. I'm pretty happy with that. All right. Let's talk to somebody a little more interesting, shall we? Let's talk to Rasputin for a little while, shall we? What do you think of the Tsarina? They were very close. So this is the animated Rasputin, at least in the... I will not hide anything. I do not like this woman. They were actually really close. I don't think that's an accurate... All right. What do you think of Nicholas II, the Tsar? A kind but weak and easy to manipulate man. In my opinion, he is not worthy to be a ruling Tsar. All right. Interesting, but not what I was hoping for. Are you a god? By the way, if you've ever seen Ghostbusters, the answer to this question is always yes. No, I am the most powerful and wisest person on earth, but I am just a man. I had a birth, and I will have a death. Yeah, you'll have a death, all right, just like everyone else. How did you die? Of course, if I'm talking to him, it hasn't happened yet, right? This is a sad and long story. I don't want to tell it. I can only say one thing. The time I died was a time of huge political contradictions in my kingdom. My kingdom, okay. The nobles were fighting amongst themselves, and the peasants were fighting against their rulers. The most cruel enemies were not the enemy forces, but my own people. All right. Okay, we're going to go back and revisit Napoleon. I've asked him to reply in English, please, and he said yes, of course. Okay. Who was your best marshal? Let's see what he says. Be interesting. Louis-Nicolas Davout was also known as L'Invincible. All right, cool. Probably a few you could choose from, but I wouldn't argue with Davout being up there. What else can we ask Napoleon? What do you really think of Ridley Scott's new movie? I think it is an abomination. 4 stars. 4 stars. Tell me about your affairs. We know he had some. Had at least a couple of children with those affairs that we know of. My affair with Josephine de Beauharnais was purely political. Once this marriage bore no fruit, in my eyes turned elsewhere. I'd see there was a political component to it, but excuse me, I think he definitely loved her. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I won't rate it, though. What else can we ask him? What was your greatest victory? Be interested to see what he says here. Austerlitz, 1805, the greatest victory in the history of warfare. Not just in his mind, in his battles, history of warfare. I fought a coalition comprising the Russian, Austrian. There were no British soldiers at Austerlitz. I mean, the coalition may have involved them because the British were always part of these coalitions. They funded these coalitions. All right. Anyway. All right. Let's ask him some really off the wall question. Okay. First let's ask him, who was your toughest opponent? I mean, he's going to say Wellington, right? Because that's who beat him at Waterloo. That'll be like the cop-out answer. Yeah. It's probably the answer that the AI would want to say there. Let me see. What was your worst battle other than Waterloo? Battle of the Nile in Egypt. When I fought the British Navy at sea, which was a terrible blunder. I mean, he didn't necessarily fight it directly. But I don't know about that. That's interesting. All right. Anyway, that was fun. I just wanted to give it a try. Let me know in the comment section below what AI you think I should talk to and what I should ask it. Or if there's a different way of doing this you'd like me to interact with these AIs. We'll do these from time to time. I think it'll be fun. See if it progresses, gets any better. Hope you enjoyed this. Something fun to do, a little different. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.